What's up, everybody? So, I was doing some thinking lately as far as comedy films go. And I kind of came to the realization that, unfortunately, people can't take a joke the way they used to. I mean, think about it. Certain films like Tropic Thunder and Step Brothers and, a lot of just great films. Like, when was the last time, ask yourself, when was the last time you ever saw a film and you busted out laughing throughout the whole thing, right? Seriously, when was the last time you went to a theater, you saw some comedy, right? And it was over the moon. It was just hilarious, just nonstop laughter. Exactly. If you ask yourself that question, you're probably not going to come up with an answer. All of the best films come back at least 5-8 years ago and more back. And that's unfortunate. I think that's just a testament of the time that, when humor gets removed from a society, it's just nothing but bad. It's a sign of the times, where people's temperament is. Again, this is getting a little bit deeper now, right? The removal of art, and to a much worse degree. During Nazi Germany, one of the first things that they started to do when they started to change the perception of people, right, is they actually removed cartoons from the newspapers and stuff, right? Then they also started removing certain music and then talking about, protected speech and stuff like that. That's a very dangerous, slippery slope. And I think the reason that America specifically has had such a great run in comedy is because of the freedom of speech. The best comedians ever, okay, all come from America. Why is that? Free speech, right? America, even though it's declining, which is very scary to say, is the one country that used to be able to say anything about anybody, anytime. And, you got to take a risk when you're telling a joke. I have fallen, metaphorically, flat on my face many times trying to make a joke work or trying to say something that's funny on stage or just with friends or something like that. And, it's fallen flat on its face. It has not worked. It was not funny. But you got to take risks. You got to take risks when you're not just trying to tell a joke, but when you're trying to communicate with somebody. Like, have you ever tried to talk to somebody and the kind of person that you have to say, I don't want to make you upset, but that's unfortunate. You should be able to just speak freely and not have to worry about someone that you love or care about, or you just want to communicate some information that they'll be offended. Because the best form of communication is true honesty, right? So if you can, I'm not saying be disrespectful or mean, but I'm saying if you're just truthfully communicating in an honest way to somebody, okay, you shouldn't have to spend a percentage of your time at all to try to soften the impact, okay, of basic information that is not emotional, okay? Which is, of course, different if you had to talk about something that was a sensitive subject as opposed to, hey, could I borrow your car? Hey, could I, have you eaten? Just simple stuff, This kind of stuff really makes me, basically crazy. Because, especially as a comedian, I noticed that, sometimes I hear, famous people that are famous comedians and stuff that made their due. They actually have a level of free speech that other people that are famous comedians, for the moment, myself specifically, and many others, it's a big contrast because they made they became notorious, right, while they still had that reign of free speech. But even Dave Chappelle, if he was up and coming right now, this very day, no matter how good he is, all right, if he said the joke starting out that he says now, in this time and in this era. So if right now Dave Chappelle was just coming up and he started saying jokes that people are trying to cancel him for, he would never get ahead. Ever. Wouldn't happen, right? And all these other people like Joe Rogan, Tom Segura, Bill Burr, they're phenomenal. But remember, they became phenomenal. They became phenomenal during a period when they were allowed to. It's true. There's a lot of... You ever watch like a film or think about like a presidential election, you think, is this really the best that we got? That's not to discredit these people, but it is to say, what else is out there? What else is out there, right? And unfortunately, it's also not a meritocracy. That is the one biggest drawback of, I would say, not just comedy, but the entertainment industry in general, is that if there's an actor that's 10 times better than somebody else, right? But maybe he has less Twitter followers or something like that or whatever. I understand it's a business. But, you know, for longevity and whatnot, you really want talent. If it's down between one actor or another and the other one has a lot more Twitter followers, but the other one is going to make it a better film, as a business, they're going to choose the better Twitter follower. But for longevity, right, they should be choosing the better actor, not the one that's more popular, right? Because then it's kind of like adding oil to water. You're going to have a great film with a bad actor in it, and it's going to pull down everything. And you've seen it. You've seen it again and again. You see all the certain people that are really famous in films that are not good actors or actresses. And yeah, they're selling it, but that's what I'm saying. You know, think about this. Think about all the classic actors. Al Pacino, Robert De Niro, I'm coming up with two, right? Action stars, right? Arnold, you got Sylvester Stallone, Jean-Claude, you got all these people, right? The big names of today, action stars, they're not really action stars. They're more than less affiliated with being a character in a film. Okay, as opposed to this is actually a conversation that famous director, he did Pulp Fiction, Quentin Tarantino. He actually made a comment about one time, and it's true. I'm not trying to steal his talking points, but it's true, right? So certain actors now, they don't get famous based off of films that they're in and being a great actor. They get famous based off of them being, it's not their talent, but it's like the stardom is built not around the actor, it's built around their role. And if they're in other films, they're not going to be good. But if they're in that certain film with that certain cast or whatever it is, all right, then they are going to make a lot of money for that one film. But individually, they can't hold up. Why? Because they're not a good actor, right? Think about like, well, anyway, without giving too many examples, you hopefully understand what I'm saying. But yeah, I was just sitting here and I was thinking about free speech. I'm on my way to jiu-jitsu right now. I'm helping out with a buddy of mine. He's preparing for a tournament, so I actually am going to be wearing a gi today. Digressing a little bit. But yeah, I'm just working on a lot of my comedy, and I'm trying to make it as hilarious, but also play by the rules and edit myself to not offend anybody of the masses. You know, I had a really unfortunate experience where I was supposed to be doing an hour at a club, and I got paid. I got paid in full, and it was a lot of money. But it wasn't even a club. It was actually a church. And 30 minutes into the show, I guess I said something, and I'm thinking it was already super watered down. It was very funny. It was very clean. I'm not saying any bad material, but at some point, somebody didn't like something that I said and complained to the pastor, and the pastor just said, you know, I did a good job, and he got me off stage, and everybody gave me a round of applause. That was really disappointing, though. It was really disappointing because I'm thinking to myself, how much more can I edit my own edit? You know what I'm saying? Like, how much more can I water down this to still make it funny? So since then, I've actually made a revision. have this whole library of all sorts of jokes and information, and one-liners and stories and all sorts of stuff. So I think I'm at the point and I'm finally, I had to come up with basically like not a lot, but like a good part of different information that wasn't potentially offensive at all. And I went through my library kind of like when you put on an outfit. I was matching this older stuff that I haven't said on stage with this newer stuff that I come up with. And I'm almost finished the last part, which is just my last 5 minutes of an hour, and then I'm good to go. But I have it all memorized. I gotta workshop just a little bit the last 5 minutes. But it's going to be great. And again, it is going to be the best stuff that I've ever done. And it's clean, it's high-paced, it's great stories, a lot of misdirection, and I care about it a lot. So anyway, usually my podcasts are usually 5 to 10 minutes, more like 5 to 6, right? But this one I was just going a little longer on because I was just in really deep thought about the state of comedy and free speech and stuff like that. As a matter of fact, now I think about it in hindsight, I'm pretty sure comedy and free speech might even be the title for this podcast episode. So anyway, with that being mentioned, I hope everybody has a beautiful day. Take a chance to make somebody laugh, or be open to the idea of laughing. That's a whole other topic, people being, you ever laugh at something you thought was funny, but someone else thought that was insensitive, all right, and then they look at you like you did something wrong, and then maybe, hopefully not, you don't even feel bad, but that potentially can even be a result where you might feel bad because someone thinks that you should feel bad. No, if you think something is funny, you laugh, right? But anyway, digressing again. Y'all have a beautiful day. I'm Benj Well Done. Check me out. Peace.